Hey friends, Dean here. Before we get you on to your episode, I want to take a moment to invite you to our next virtual online trivia night. Wednesday, May 13th at 8 p.m. Join us either on our Facebook group or on our YouTube page for 3 rounds of fun trivia, music questions, movie questions, general knowledge questions. It'll be a fun time and a chance to win some prizes and have just a good relaxing night of some trivia at home. You don't even have to go out for it. So don't forget, Wednesday, March 13th at 8 p.m. Join us on our Facebook group or YouTube for 3 rounds of fun virtual online trivia. We'll see you there. Our breakdown of Chapter 3 of the Book of Boba Fett is here. We've got a baby Rancor, scooter speeders, and a Wookiee beatdown, along with our hits, misses, and episode grade, all coming your way right now.
Get ready for the 3324 podcast, where lifelong friends Dean Legiro and Erik Kuber share their love of all things music and movies. Dean has directed short films and is a music trivia buff, and Erik, trained in audio engineering, brings his extensive knowledge of music and film to the conversation as they discuss, debate, and celebrate their favorite albums, films, and much more.
Welcome, friends, to the 3324 podcast special event, the Book of Boba Fett. We're covering each episode as it comes out with spoilers, but we release these episodes every Monday, the following Monday after they come out. So you've got time to watch it. We're not going to put this episode right out in front of it and ruin everything for you. So we give you the weekend to check it out, right, Erik?
That's correct. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our episode 3.
Yeah, 3 out of 7. So we're going to have 4 more episodes in this limited series. Every Monday you can get these episodes and check that out. So we're on episode 3. Our episode title is The Streets of Mos Espa.
Yes.
Directed by Robert Rodriguez, written by Jon Favreau. So I'm going to guess he's written the whole thing.
I think so. Yeah, I think episode 6 might have been co-written by Dave Filoni. I'm not sure about that.
But he's, okay, so this is like a all Favreau all the time thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And
I
think Rodriguez has the bulk of the directing chores on this.
I know he's got 3. Yeah. And then the other ones are kind of scattered out. So why don't we get right into this, and why don't you give us the plot synopsis for this episode?
All right. So episode 3 starts with a bit of exposition as Fett and Fennec Shand are learning of the true criminal hierarchy under Bib Fortuna's reign as Daimyo. The conversation is interrupted, however, by a rather respectful water merchant played by Stephen Root, who informs them that his business is being disrupted by a gang of cybernetically enhanced youths. As Fett and Shand investigate the merchant's claims, something about the meeting the youths stirs perhaps a bit of empathy from Fett as he hires them to join his crew. Back at the palace, and we find Fett in his Bacta tank. Yes, we're in for another flashback, this time with tragic results. Now part of the Tusken tribe, Fett travels to Mos Eisley to collect payment from the Pike Syndicate, and after lulling each other in a false sense of security about protecting mutual interests, Fett returns to the village to find the tribe wiped out, seemingly by the biker gang who have been terrorizing homesteads in the area. As Fett awakens from his slumber, he is grabbed from the tank by Krrsantan, and after a brief but violent struggle, including his new young bodyguards, Shand shows up, trapping the Wookiee in the empty Rancor pit. Jabba's cousins, the twins, arrive shortly after, and in a rather odd move, apologize for sending their Wookiee assassin to kill Fett by presenting him with a gift, a semi-conscious Rancor and his keeper, played by Danny Trejo. The Hutts inform the stunned Fett and Shand that they've both been deceived by the mayor of Mos Espa, Mak Shaiz, by allying himself with the Pike Syndicate. Not wanting to get involved in a war, the Hutts announce they are leaving Tatooine. Fett and Shand go to Mos Espa to confront the mayor, but are waylaid by his major domo, who leads them and the young mods on a Vespa speeder chase through the streets. We cut to a shot of the Pike Syndicate now coming in full force, alluding that there is most likely another party involved we haven't seen yet to involve our heroes in a war for control of Tatooine's criminal empire. So
there it is. There was a lot there, less flashback in this episode than previous ones.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of a little something different. It seemed like they were tying up. Seemed like they were going to be tying up the Tusken story, but apparently not.
Well, I think it kind of put it to bed your theory about them returning later on in the series.
That's true.
I kind of figured I kind of figured that it's either either that or they were going to get slaughtered. I know Rodriguez was promising this series to be more of a revenge story.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm supposing that this is where that kicks off.
Okay.
Clearly,
yeah.
I think Boba Fett is probably going to track down this biker gang. And I think they're linked to the Pike Syndicate as well.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he was probably just going to go to town on them.
Yeah.
and,
well,
and,
what we're starting to see now too is that we're seeing a connection between the flashbacks, because now the Pike Syndicate was introduced that way in the flashbacks as kind of passing through the area, and now the Pike Syndicate is now in the now part of the series as well. They're coming in,
so they're tying everything together
to take over the criminal enterprise, or the Pike Syndicate is going to be planting their flag, as it were.
Yeah. Which the Pikes are obviously much more significant in because, in the very beginning you had 88 explaining that the hierarchy there was, they had like the Trandoshians, and there was a couple other races, but
everything was split up,
all that significant. So that was easy for Bib Fortuna to sit back, get fat, and enjoy his spoils.
Yeah, that was the interesting thing, is they said that Bib Fortuna really just didn't rule things the way Jabba did. He kind of just made alliances with everybody and let them kind of handle parts, which gave you the impression that that's not what Jabba did. Jabba had control of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's what Boba Fett is coming back to do, is to take over the whole area, or maybe try to unite it. So we've got, the flashback was kind of short and sweet. It did set up that Boba Fett came to get his tribute, or came to get the payment. And I kind of like the Pikes. They're very interesting characters. It's kind of like, we're not paying two people. Don't take this the wrong way, for protection. It's kind of like, you guys sort it out. We're happy to pay you if you're the one, if you make the other problem go away. So now there's a side mission in the flashback area. So that tells me that the flashbacks are not done. Like, I thought we were going to close it out.
That part of it might be done with concerning the tribe, but I think we're going to see more of Boba. Like I said, he's probably going to track down these biker dudes, and
then it's going to tie back up. So let's talk about those guys real quick. The great Stephen Root, almost unrecognizable. For a moment, I was looking at him like Stephen Root, or he looked like that actor J.O. Sanders. He's a character actor. I was kind of like, is that J.O. Sanders, or is that? So it was Stephen Root. So he's the watermonger. I'm insulted on behalf of you that they don't respect you. I don't think you can do it. Which kind of answered some of my questions too. When Fett and Shand and the two Gamorreans are like walking down the street, I was literally thinking, is he just going to handle every problem? Because that's not what Jabba did. Jabba had like a force of people, like a small army, and I was literally thinking that as he was walking down the street. I'm like, he's out there too much, and then he encounters the Borg of Star Wars universe, is the enhanced humans, which I thought were kind of cool.
I don't know,
little punk rocky, there's that the way they were dressed, but I kind of dug that they were implanting machines into them and kind of and modifying. It was an interesting. So
what is this? Is this the angst filled teenager who is this Star Wars version of like them doing themselves bodily harm, or what? I don't know.
Fett put it to rest pretty quick. He's like, if you're not working, you work for me. Then you're saying you can't find a job, you're with me. And they just kind of came. So I kind of like that part. I'm like, oh, okay. He's building like some alliances. He's getting some people on his side.
Interestingly enough, I think when he looked at this crew, he saw like they were sort of like urchins, and it kind of might have reminded him of himself. Like the flashback sequence started off with him with that one shot of him on Camino as a young kid, watching his father fly away. He's being left behind. So I guess
showing that shot over and over too.
So
in each episode, they show the same thing of the slave one flying away, which is Boba, it was Jango's ship, the slave one, and then it became Boba Fett's ship. But they keep showing that specific shot of the young Boba running across, like getting out of bed and running across these windows, and then seeing the ship go away.
So it's clear that his dad went off on these missions or whatever, didn't take the kid with him. Like he was kind of left behind. He was, which I don't know what that means. I don't know.
Left with the cloners, right?
Yeah. I guess, he felt that they were the right people to protect him, so I guess there was some sense of, but, are they setting the idea of him being abandoned much like a lot of other characters in the Star Wars universe.
Finding his purpose, perhaps. So.
Yeah.
And the one thing we learned in the flashback is that biker gang is now bigger than we thought. We thought it was just like some marauders, but obviously if they've got enough numbers to take out all those Tuskens, because those guys were not lightly armed, the Tuskens, and they're certainly not
they're formidable warriors too. Yeah.
So that kind of speaks to the larger army that this gang has.
Well, I think it's clear that I think they are working in tandem with probably the Pikes or somebody else that we haven't seen yet. I think there's going to be somebody significant coming into this. That
think so.
I think so.
As if there's not enough going on in this.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think there's probably a character. I would say more than another syndicate. Probably we're going to see someone. Perhaps a callback to the Clone Wars or something, like as the Pikes or they were introduced in that series and then of course they showed up in Solo, but
and then Boba Fett is rudely awakened by his back to tank getting opened and all the fluid spilling out, and he gets grabbed and he gets tossed around by Krrsantan, which was great to see. Wow. Just a badass. What a badass. I mean, he really was a badass.
Yeah, the way he roars is awesome. It's not like they don't use like just the same Wookiee.
Yeah, he doesn't do all the
Wookiee like sound like Chewbacca.
Yeah, he's got more of like a lion roar, like a tiger roar.
He's formidable. I mean,
and he's the shots the abuse that he took a gaffy stick stuck in his back, stabbed. The droid kids came in. I guess we'll call them. I don't know what we'll call them. Borg kids.
Yeah.
Came in and surrounded him, and they're kind of one guy throws like an energy whip around his arm, and they're trying to like get him under control, and he just still was holding his own against like 5 people and almost basically killing Fett.
And then the 2 Gamorreans show up, and then the Wookiee just goes nuts because I guess he's probably fought Gamorreans before in the arena as a gladiator, so he just grabs both of them and just shoves them down the stairs. And then Fennec Shand shows up, which I thought was kind of odd. I don't know if you thought that was something there. What took her so long to show up? I wonder.
Oh, that's good. That's going to be in my misses column. So when we get into that in a couple of minutes, we're going to deal with that. It was just a great scene, and then it was great to see the return of a Rancor. Right, you've got a Rancor pit that twice enemies or people have been thrown into a Rancor pit twice with no Rancor in it. So it really is not serving a purpose except for maybe the perceived fright.
So we're teasing down there,
but
yes,
the twins show up and say, "Hey, we're not involved in this. We're not going to, there's something else going on." And they obviously knew then that the Pikes were involved, and this just just leave. Everybody should just leave. It's not worth it. But here's a Rancor, and you can have a Krrsantan. Do what you want with him. Keep him, kill him, return him to the gladiators, and you get a baby Rancor. And Danny Trejo comes up on this, riding up over the hill. It was almost like when Kong was being transported.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. Kind of on the rat. He's kind of like brings him in, and I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be, they brought, Robert Rodriguez had to bring Danny Trejo into the Star Wars universe. It was inevitable.
He's not on the up and up either. He's seemingly very benign. So? I think so. Oh, come on. It's such a Trojan horse.
Really? I'm not too sure.
I think he clearly trained this thing to do some shit. And I think so.
I kind of just bought into that. He's a Rancor trainer, and it fits. And this is what I liked about it too, is that whole Rancor scene about how the Rancor bonds with the trainer and this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It really kind of called back to Return of the Jedi, because back in Return of the Jedi, it was played for laughs that the Rancor keeper was crying when he died. And it was kind of like, he's like his pet. Yeah. So I like that they kind of tied that back and said, no, they're actually not just a beast. It imprints on who it sees and can be trained and is actually docile.
That's probably true. But when he says, he goes, the first human he sees is the person but I think he's the guy. I think Trejo is the guy that he first saw. And I think he's already done some training.
Yeah.
I think.
We're going to find out.
Because, why... Well, let's get to I guess we'll get, bring this up into misses. So that's one of my misses.
That's one of your misses? Okay.
This is one of my head scratchers, I should say.
Yeah. So they finally, like you said in the synopsis, they go see this mayor again. I mean, I don't know if this mayor is like the biggest paper tiger. It's just like they feel the need to, and they feel the need to respect him. Like they're not going to come barging in again. And that
Right.
the major domo guy that just
do you know who the actor is playing the other guy? The cap.
no,
The long
he's
hair.
got to be like either a family friend or somebody.
For Rodriguez. Yeah, I think so.
It's got to be like a friend or something.
He almost looks like Rob Schneider.
He looks very out of place.
I thought it was him at first, and I'm like, no, it's not him. No, it's like
So yeah, the major domo takes a powder in his slow speeder.
Mm.
They have a slow speed chase through the streets of Mos Espa.
Oh my god!
And there's that little Easter egg. The speeder, one of the guys on the speeder scooters, crashes through a painting, and I still framed it. I don't know if you saw that.
It's a picture of a
painting of Jabba's palace with Jabba and Boba Fett and
probably a Ralph McQuarrie.
Salacious Crumb is there.
Art,
and, it's not Slave Leia though. It's a Twi'lek. Because I paused and I'm like, let me look at this because you could tell even though it's quick, you could tell what it was. But I'm like, let me take a look at it. So, very very fun callback. I don't know where that painting was going.
Right. Yeah.
Hopefully not to
somebody
Boba
probably
Fett's
bought
palace
it off the street. They probably took it from the palace, and it's a black market. They're probably selling it. Yeah.
I was expecting to see like Han Solo and Carbonite like in the painting. Like I was kind of looking for some extra stuff, but didn't really see that. So, the speeder, the chase basically ends, and the major domo was like, yeah, well, the mayor's working with the Pikes, so that ties the Pikes to the past and the present. And they're coming en masse to Mos Espa. So it's kind of like, okay, there's something bigger going on than just managing the mayor and managing a couple of assassins.
Which takes me back to my theory about somebody else coming into this. Because I don't think the Pikes they're just so many that they're faceless. So there's got to be someone more significant involved. If the Hutts are turning tail, running back to Nal Hutta, and they don't want to get, then something serious, something bigger is coming. So
leave this rock.
So okay, so what are your hits in this episode?
Hits?
Yeah.
We took care of it actually mostly in the synopsis. I liked when he recruited the gang because I was like, okay, you do need people. You can't do this alone because you're gonna kind of not do well if you don't. Krrsantan's attack. Oh my gosh, I just really loved the brutality and just how he was unstoppable. And you don't really see Chewbacca throwing some just don't really see him fighting. This guy was just brutal and just really just really laying the smack down. The Rancor, I was never a big fan of the Rancor in Jedi, but I kind of like this. I like the time that they spent with it explaining and kind of, I don't want to use the word humanizing the Rancor, meaning that it wasn't just this beast that just was like out of control, that it can be tamed. And Boba Fett's like, I want to ride it and I want to learn and da, 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 da. So for me, those were the hits. What about yours?
The hits for me, but the exposition, we finally get to know what the hell's going on in the present day, right? And we're getting this information now. We're learning that obviously. I think Boba's way in over his head. First of all, I think like I said before, things were pretty lax. I think there was some problems, but I think this was pretty a lackluster kind of crime empire going on ever since Jabba got killed. I think anything significant probably either left Tatooine or was interests were elsewhere or whatever. But these guys just sort of came in and just there's really nothing. So I kind of like that. I do like the moment where he comes back to the Tusken camp and there was it was just enough of that scene. They didn't prolong it. They didn't, so that was cool. And just going right into the present with him being just
yanked into the present,
and that's about as far as it goes for me. I mean, what the Rancor coming is cool. I love the idea of it. I love the fact that, and like I said, if it does come to pass that it is something of a Trojan horse kind of thing where the Rancor is going to wake up and take whatever, I think that's probably the case, but we'll see.
All right,
but so
misses. I'm going to roll through them quick.
Okay.
It's mostly logic stuff. And effects. So the scooter, I like the scooters. I didn't have a problem with it, but they never got dirty. They never get dusty during the whole chase. Like they're always like brand new, and that's an effects issue. They should have have addressed that.
Yeah, go ahead.
The next part is a two-parter. And you kind of touched on it. How did Krrsantan get into that palace without anybody, especially now that he's got more people protecting him? How did he get in? I don't mind that he got in. They didn't show how he got in.
That's right.
My final miss, which is a big one, and it annoyed me big time. They specifically showed Krrsantan like charging up his energy knuckles.
Mm-hmm.
And he throws a Wookiee haymaker right in Boba Fett's face.
And there's not a mark on him.
And there's not a mark on him.
That's right. Yep.
Like they specifically showed those knuckles charging and electrifying, and he decks him.
Right. Yep.
And he gets up and there's nothing. So I've got, if you're going to do that stuff, there's got to be some damage taken. So go ahead, your misses.
Well, you added one to my list with that one because I I overlooked that. But so my first miss for me is Krrsantan. He all but kills one of the Gamorrean guards, right? I mean, he grabs him by the throat and he probably takes a big chunk. You don't see it, but he probably takes a big chunk out of it. I would imagine. Why is Boba, take him to my Bacta tank? Right there, I think what should have happened right there is like, you killed one of mine, you work for me now.
Yeah.
And that could have been a take on like the whole like life debt thing with the Wookiees. Kind of a twisted,
Sure.
I guess they didn't want to convey the fact that he's a slave. I think Krrsantan himself should have said, because even when Boba says, okay, no hard feelings, you can go, Krrsantan should have, turned around and said, well, no, I killed one of yours.
He'll be back.
I'm sure he will, but I think right then and there, that could have they could have just avoided, him coming back and just done it right there. And that would have been so cool to look forward to know that he's right there by Boba Fett's side. Like
I thought that's what was going to happen. He was going to join him. But.
Exactly. So a lot of apologizing, like the Hutts are just like, oh, we're sorry. We just tried to kill you. I was like, what? So I think, again, there's something there. That you can read into that half-assed apology and say, we sent this guy in to really do the job because, but Boba's saying that I had a problem with him saying he wanted to ride it. Yeah. I don't think they should have revealed that. I don't think they should have wrote that in because that's obviously going to be the money shot at the end, I think. The chase was just horrible. Absolutely. I thought it looked like something out of Spy Kids. It was so slow, so plotting. So,
alrighty. What's your grade for this episode? What do you give it?
I'm going to give it a C, because it really brought it down for me. That chase, it was so anticlimactic, and I'm just kind of scratching my head as to where they came up with this idea for these characters. So there it is.
Cool. And I'm going to go with in a turn of events versus my last week bashing of the episode. I'm bumping this one up to a B. Okay. There was enough there for me to enjoy. I really liked it better that they're starting to move the story along. So that kind of was a big one for me. So that's going to do it for our episode, chapter 3, Book of Boba Fett, The Streets of Mos Espa. Join us every Monday for recaps for the whole series, all 7 episodes. And again, join us on social media. Let us know what you thought of the episodes as well. For Erik, this has been Dean, and we will see you next week for chapter 4 of the Book of Boba Fett.
You've been listening to the 3324 podcast with Dean Legiro and Erik Kuber. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider, so please like, subscribe, and rate to become a part of the 3324 family. Your feedback is important, so make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at 3324 podcast and on Twitter at 3324p to join the conversation.